Hey, friends, welcome to the deep end. Surprise!
With video.
With
Frank.
and Jackie, who's sidekick and life and on the air. This was a shock to me too, friends. That's why I look so fabulous. But, hey, why not start out small so that later on I could look a little better?
Well, we need to go to video for our sponsors and just get our message out there a little bit better, because YouTube's going to become our main platform, I think. And so we have to get everything on video. So here we are. And
Hi. I'm in my Easter pink. I'm just like totally, unprepared.
And it is Easter weekend.
It is. This is Good Friday.
Yeah, it's Good Friday, and Sunday he rises again.
Yeah.
Just as we do after Tax Day.
Yes.
So
it's true. Speaking of Tax Day, our oldest granddaughter, turned 10 to both hands on Tax Day. April 15th is her birthday. And she is a little taxing sometimes because she is extra.
She is
totally extra, Parker Grace.
Extra.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw some pictures of her. But,
for sure.
To our Parker Grace, we love her to death, and she's a hoot, y'all.
Oh, y'all.
She is a hoot. And
well, I'm so excited about her because, she loves theater and she's in all the stuff and, all the things that we do.
Looks like A.V. Kate, the 3-year-old, may be loving theater, too.
Second granddaughter took her to Little Mermaid at Casa Manana. If you're in DFW, you know what that is. And so, so that was fun this week. And then we had some illness. Everybody's been sick in our family all week long, and you're not.
Yeah, I'm a little sick too.
Yeah, you need to stay
away.
I got a little
stay
away from me.
Something going on. But
maybe it was that pond that you crawled into.
week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, check out our videos. I did a green to clean, drain and clean, and it was nasty, y'all.
That was a sludge to clean.
You could
bad.
You could not see a half inch down into this.
No,
water. It was pretty bad.
And he smelled so pretty when he got home. It was fabulous.
Oh, it's
not.
That was miserable, and I had to get up to my neck in this water because when we do draining cleans, and this may be a clue to people out there that do some draining cleans, man, when you're going to pressure wash it, because it has slime and stuff growing on it on
it's
the
slippery.
actual surfaces, it's slippery. But if you let it dry, that stuff becomes much more difficult to get off. So what we do is, as it's draining, then we're pressure washing, going around pressure washing and taking the stuff off as it goes down. So, and the pump takes it down pretty good. I think we were in and out of there in 4.5 hours, and this is about a 22,000 gallon pool. But as it's draining, like we're making our laps around, and as steps are being exposed, we'll pressure wash those steps and all the way down to the final little bit. When we get the final little bit, we get all the chunkies out. Mm-hmm. And then we'll chlorinate that little bowl really, really hard so it kills anything that may still be living. And then we fill the pool back up.
There was nothing living in that pool. That was gross.
No, there's bloodworms swimming around. It was nasty. But we fill it back up, and since we had that really strong chlorine in there, the organic material that's left is just looks like a little bit of sand and powder left in the bowl. So we'll come back, we'll vacuum that to a filter, our filter, and then we get the chemicals right, we get the pump up and going, and that pool looks pretty good today.
Yeah.
So, and that was just a few days ago.
It took you a couple showers to get that off of you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh my gosh, I was smelling that on me for 2 days, and
you did a pool school right after he went straight from this draining clean to a pool school. Bless those people's heart. But I hope you said the reason why I smell this way, so don't ever let your pool get like that.
No, I told him
you just been in a green pool?
I just said this is how I look. Deal with me. Deal with me. I'm your smelly pool guy.
Oh my goodness, this is what happens.
I smelled worse than a stock tank. But I want to talk a little bit more about Parker. Now she's 10. She's she's finishing fourth.
Finishing fourth grade.
She's finishing fourth grade.
Yes.
She'll be in fifth grade, and then Foster, her older brother, our oldest grandson.
Mm-hmm. Our only grandson. We're forming a girl gang.
Now he's going into
He's in 6th grade. He's finishing up 6th grade. He's 12.
So he starts playing school ball next year.
Yeah, he's 12. He'll be 13. He'll be a
play.
teenager in September.
Yeah,
So
he's a smart kid.
you're old, man. You're old. You have a teenage grandson, man.
I started young.
Oh my goodness.
It's we're not even going to my first.
Let's not even go in there. This is our first live show. We don't want people to never come back.
No, they probably wouldn't.
I know. They probably would because it's like the days of our lives.
The drama. I just want the drama.
It's the days of our lives. One other thing that I wanted to say today, of course, we're in North Texas, and so all of our guys are out and about doing the thing. And we got a picture today of
a Copperhead.
A big old honking.
He was a big Copperhead.
He was a big one, man.
Yeah, Copperheads aren't big old snakes.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll never see like a 5 foot, 6 foot long. This one's
you got to flash the picture up and make sure they can see it. Yeah.
So there's the picture of the Copperhead.
I love that.
He was a big one. I mean, he's next to live oak leaves. Live oak leaves are about 1.5 inches long.
Yeah.
And he is wider than a live oak leaf. Yeah. So.
And Brandon was like a foot from it and almost stepped on it.
Yeah, Copperheads are hard to see, y'all.
Because they melt into the environment.
Yeah, so if you're out in your backyard or front yard or wherever, flower beds or whatever, and you're digging out those leaves and just bagging them up and everything, man.
Be careful because they're out.
And you don't see them. They blend really well. Yeah. And that's the most dangerous snake we got around here. There's some rattlesnakes near us, but none real close.
That's more the hill country, going further south.
But Brandon was in Argyle, which will get the occasional rattlesnake. But what he ran into today was a Copperhead.
Yeah.
So what else we got? Oh, we're going to go ahead and announce it, y'all.
Let's go. Drum roll.
Drum roll. We're taking on another territory, a few more territories.
Kill me now. No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. Actually bringing on a partner. We got a partner. He's coming in and he's working a deal with the Flower Mound, the Poolworks Flower Mound location. And he got to talking to me and he approached me and I think we're going to work really good together.
Yeah.
Because he's more into numbers and as far as the books and stuff like that. And I'm just a pool guy. That's how I roll. And so he's coming in and we're going to be taking on the Flower Mound location. So now we're going to have 4 retail stores.
Good heavens.
And we're taking on Coppell. We're taking on Frisco, the Colony, some little other town up there.
Crazy.
I forget the name of. It's Chester something or something or another.
What?
But so we're going to start growing out in that direction, and
he and his wife are darling. They are so sweet and so wonderful. I think it's a great mesh.
They are good people.
Yeah.
They're really good people, and if they weren't, I wouldn't even be considering this because having a partner is not an easy thing. So,
for you,
or anybody.
I know. I'm teasing.
So, but we're going to be coming on. His name is Robbie Cox, and that's going to put us. Yeah, it's going to secure us pretty well. Except for Minnesota, we'll be the largest Poolworks franchise.
Minnesota.
But Minnesota guys are just huge.
Yeah.
But they got like all of Minnesota and North Dakota. But I mean, there's probably 3 pools in North Dakota, right? But I think they dropped down into Michigan and
so they have all that.
So they got all that, up there where the Yetis swim. We talk about critters, but we never really talk about how to get Yetis out of the pool. So maybe one day we'll go up there and figure out what they do to keep
we should
the Yetis
ask them
out.
So we can. And FYI, inquiry minds want to know. I mean,
right now a lot of people dealing with ducks, and we got a product called Duck Off, which we can't find anymore.
Yeah, somebody asked about that on the DFW Pool Owners Group.
I'm kind of curious about what's going on with that.
Yep.
But there may be a Yeti Off, so maybe that's what they use.
Yeti off. Get it off.
So I wanted to go into today.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about water balance and water chemistry. I just did a video on the 5 basics and all that. So I wanted to talk about water balance and just chlorine. And I'm going to be going into the Orenda app, Orenda, using their app. There's a few good apps out there, so feel free to just search pool chemistry apps. There's several. Right. But I'm going to be showing y'all on the Orenda app. I'll be doing a screen recording of my phone while I show you all the Orenda app. So let's go ahead and move into. I tell you what, first we're going to go to break. If you're listening audio only, we're going to go to break. You'll hear our commercials. We got to get some video commercials going. I'll throw a couple things up, but we'll be back in a minute.
The pool's a mess, and the water is green. They can be real jerks, so take a dive into the deep end.
Hey, we're back on the deep end with Frank and Jackie. We're talking about balancing your pool, but specifically the Orenda app or any app that you can get.
Yes. Yeah. And water balance is really critical. Yeah. And I'm going to be showing y'all, I'm going to do a screen recording, and I'll be popping around through it, and y'all just going to see that's the screen on the Orenda app. But, water balance, I just want to cover a little bit about it before I start going into that. So water balance is basically your water has a happy saturation point. So it wants so much stuff dissolved into it, and there's a lot of stuff that determines what the happy saturation point is for water, and it's going to move itself to get to where it's perfectly happy. So if you get too aggressive, that means and there's several factors that go into it. There's pH, there's alkalinity, there's water hardness, there's total dissolved solids, there's calcium hardness, all this. Oh, and there's water temperature. Water temperature is very, very important, but all this stuff goes into a formula and decides whether the water is happily saturated. And all these different things that go into this formula, when they move, it changes the calculations of what the saturation is. So it's very important that your water is happily saturated. If if it gets aggressive, if the numbers go down too far, say your calcium hardness is low or your pH drops, and where your alkalinity drops and you start getting into the negative range, your water wants to get back up to where it's happily saturated. And all it can do, it can't change its own pH, it can't change its own alkalinity, but it can bring more materials into solution by dissolving them to try to get back up to that happy point. If you go too far the other way, we call it scaling. And everybody knows what scale is. If you have a swimming pool, you've seen some scale on your tile or on your plaster, but your water has become too heavily saturated. It has too much stuff dissolved in it. With all the factors in the formula, it becomes overly saturated, and it will start dumping things that it has dissolved previously. So that's stuff like calcium, metals, anything that is brought into solution, it wants to get back down to zero where it's happy. So it starts pushing that stuff out, and that's where you get staining, metal staining. That's where you get scaling on your tile line. But there's a lot of factors that go into this. And so now I'm going to go to my screen. We're recording my screen. So we're going to the Orenda app. And so if you hear, like right now, I'm showing like on the left side of this app, it gives you two. On the left side, you're going to put what all your readings are, and currently, and then on the right side, you can adjust your readings. It shows you if you'll adjust things where you can get back to where you're happy. So right now it's showing. See, both sides are not equal. So let's get it to where they're both equal. It looks like I just had my calcium hardness wasn't matching.
No.
All right, I'm at a negative 0.01. I'm typically fine down to a negative 0.1 and fine up to a positive 0.4. Positive 0.5 is pushing a little bit. But the more negative I go, the more aggressive my water is, the more it wants to bring into solution. The more positive I go, it becomes scaling, and it will start pushing stuff out of solution. So right now, I'm showing a 92 degree temperature. That's right here. 92 degree temperature. I'm showing a pH of 7.7. That's a little higher than I typically like it. I'm showing an alkalinity of 65. But just look at that little number underneath that 65. See the 65 right here? Underneath that, there's a number. I'll explain that to you. And up under the pH, there's a number. I'll explain that to you also. Then I got my CYA, which is a 60. That's right here. That's stabilizer. Then we have our total dissolved solids right there. And then we have borates, but if you're not using borates, you don't care about this. or you don't care about borates. All right, so
but you should.
but all right, so right now, all right, let's say, all right, that's pH is a little bit too high for me. I mean, 7.4, 7.6 is perfect. 7.7 is fine, but in our water, but right where we sit on everything, it shows we're perfectly saturated. But my alkalinity is a little low, so I want to get my alkalinity up to a minimum of 50 on the green line. And I told you I was going to tell you what that little green number is underneath the alkalinity here. That is the calculation of the alkalinity after they subtract 1/3 of the CYA. This app does this for you. That's called adjusted alkalinity. So when you test your alkalinity, if you're just testing total alkalinity, and you have CYA or stabilizer in your water, part of that alkalinity reading is stabilizer, and it's a false reading. So you have to subtract 1/3 of your CYA. Our CYA right here is 60. You subtract 1/3 of that 60, that's 20. So if we're reading 80 on our alkalinity and we have a CYA of 60, our actual alkalinity is 59.07 or 60. If you did the math yourself, it was a 60. It's not exactly 1/3, but so that's a huge factor, especially if you got higher CYAs. And a lot of people think their water's balanced. And let's be honest, there's a lot of pros that don't even do this calculation, that don't even subtract 1/3 of their stabilizer from their alkalinity. So they may not be balanced, or they think they're perfectly good, but they're actually not, because look what happens. Like, say those numbers, okay, they're not too far out of whack, but let's say I had a CYA. I'm one of these guys that just tab, and I run my CYA up through the roof, and I'm not watching it. And I run, let's say, 110 CYA, because there's some people out there who don't think you can have too much CYA. Look at your alkalinity now. We're testing 80, but we're actually 41. That is too low, because we never want to go below 50. And I only want to go down to 50 if it's really necessary to keep this water balanced. So don't forget to take into consideration what your CYA is when you're measuring alkalinity and calculating for that. All right, but this app makes it very simple. It does the calculation for you. Now, I told you I was going to talk about the little number underneath the pH.
Yep.
All right, so it says 8.17. All right, that is the pH ceiling according to alkalinity. If you watch that little number, I'm going to run my alkalinity up a little bit, and you can see that number underneath the pH, the 7.7 there. I run my alkalinity up, that number goes up. All right, because we've talked about this before, where pH is actually the concentration of carbon dioxide in the water, and of dissolved carbon dioxide in the water. And carbon dioxide wants to release to the water until it finds an equilibrium point in the atmosphere above the water. So it will release, and where it wants to go to is that pH ceiling, which is 8.17. So notice, if I have a really high alkalinity, that ceiling gets pretty high. And like, say if I'm running alkalinity of 120, which take the CYA out of it, that's actually only a 99. So it's an adjusted alkalinity of almost 100. But my pH ceiling now is 8.38. That means my pH wants to go all the way up to 8.38. This is why I do not like higher alkalinities. And if I can keep my water balanced with lower alkalinities, that is my preferred alkalinity. I want to run a lower alkalinity, so my pH ceiling is lower. So I don't mind running my adjusted alkalinity down to 50 when the water gets real warm, because right now I'm showing that my temperature is 92, and so I don't mind running the lower alkalinities to keep the water balanced. And like I said, I don't ever want to go below 50, because once you get below 50, you really have no control on your alkalinity. So I don't want to go below 50. So we'll get it to where it tests at 75, but after we do we'll test at 75, but after you do the adjustment for CYA, we're sitting about 55. and I'm sitting at 0.08. All right, I'm perfectly happy at 0.08. All right, but let's say, but my pH is still a little high. So if I take my pH down to 7.5, which a lot of people say is perfect, all right, I probably need to bring my alkalinity up a little bit. So if I bring my alkalinity up to testing at 90, which is actually a 70, after we do the subtraction for the adjustment for CYA, I'm sitting at a perfect 0.000 down here. So that's perfectly balanced water. This water doesn't want to bring in anything. It doesn't want to get rid of anything. All right, so let's say I could keep these numbers all the time. I could always keep a 7.5. I could always keep a 90. I can always keep 340 on my calcium and 60 on my CYA and 800 on my total dissolved solids, but it's middle of the summer. And this is where a big reason why you can't always run the same numbers and expect your water to be perfectly good. Because I'm going to move this water temperature up here. Look what happens when I drop my water temperature, because here in Texas, we'll get up to 92, 93 degrees water temperature, and then we'll get down all the way to 40. This year we actually got below 40 in water temperature in most of the pools. But look at my water balance now. My water was a perfect 0 at 92 degrees when the water was 92 degrees. I don't care about air temperature, y'all. I only care about water temperature. I'm treating the water, not the air. So if my water temperature gets down to 40 degrees, look how aggressive my water is now. It's at a negative 0.42. That's way too aggressive. So this will start stripping copper out of my heater. It will start eating calcium and other materials out of my plaster. It will be eating materials out of my tile grout. So my water's getting really aggressive. And I think I'm doing just fine, but I'm not. Because man, my pH is perfect. Man, my alkalinity is really good. My calcium, same thing it was. My CYA is at 60. That's doable. TDS is 800. Man, I'm a rock star. No, I'm not. I'm destroying my pool. This is why I say most of the damage I see done to swimming pools is done during the winter, because we stop testing, we stop swimming, we stop looking, and we think our pool is just fine, but our water gets getting cold, so that makes it much more aggressive, and it starts eating our materials, and then water temperature comes up. It comes all the way up to, right now we're about 70. All right, I'm still not too bad at 70. I'm at a negative 0.17. That's more negative than I want to be, but temperature is going to keep coming up, and then we're going to get all the way up to 92, which is 92, 93 is about the highest we see, and I'm back to perfect 0. But let's say I get back up to 92 and something happens. My pH jumps up a little bit because I got a salt pool or whatever, or got a lot of wind, or been running waterfalls now since the water's warm, so my pH is jumping up. My alkalinity jumps up a little bit because that's always moving on us a little bit. And just a couple little changes, now my water's very scaling. So all that extra crap that I dissolved into solution, so my calcium levels probably actually went up because I dissolved a lot of stuff out of my plaster and tile grout and everything else. So now that's extra stuff into solution. I got more dissolved solids into my water. So my calcium levels probably went up. My TDS maybe went up a little bit. Let's say it went up to 900. But now I get this little bit of spike in pH, and that's 8.0. That's not even a hard spike. And my water temperature got hot, and now I'm scaling my pool. All that stuff I pulled out of my plaster, I pulled out of my grout, I pulled out of my pool equipment from my heat exchanger and everything else. Now that all that is coming out of solution and staining and scaling my pool. So I just want to make sure people understand that you can't run the same numbers all the time and unless you have an indoor heated pool that you keep the same temperature all the time. You have to adjust. You have to test and adjust. So let's get this water back down to right. Let's see, I had it at 330 on the calcium. Let's get alkalinity back up where we want it, or get our pH down to 7.5. get our alkalinity down a little bit, and there you go. So we're sitting back at 0. All right, so we're at 91 degrees right here, and we're at 0. All right, let's say I drop 10 degrees in water temperature, and we go down to 81. All right, that's a negative 0.07. So for about every 10 degrees, we're losing about, or adding, depending on which direction the temperature is going, 0.06, 0.07 in our LSI. So let's take that back up to 92, and all this does change a little bit according to what the other readings are. It's not always 0.06. It can be a little bit off. All right, so let's look at our alkalinity next, our alkalinity right here. So let's say our alkalinity right there is 90, we're at positive 0.04, and I drop down to 80. All right, now I'm at a negative 0.03. All right, so negative 0.03 at 80, I go down to 70, I'm now at a negative 0.1. So that's about a 0.07 move in alkalinity for every 10 parts of alkalinity that your alkalinity changes. So keep that in mind. So all this is different factors. Our calcium hardness. Calcium hardness is something that's going to change slowly over time. I don't like adding calcium to our pools here in North Texas because we have this, we get extreme hot, extreme cold. Some parts of the country, and most of our pools are plaster.
Right.
We don't have that many vinyl and that many fiberglass pools. So I don't really want to add calcium because I can't remove calcium. The only way I can remove calcium is to drain the water. So I don't like adding things that I can't adjust. Now I'm going to watch it every time we add tap water. Our calcium level is going up a little bit. So we want to make sure we still test calcium and track it, but we're not adjusting it. We're moving these other things, pH and alkalinity, to adjust for it. So, but let's say our calcium, all right, that's at 300. Let's go ahead and get everything right. All right, so we're at positive 0.02 right there, and our calcium climbs up, let's say 30 parts per million. All right, so now we're at 0.06, and then we climb another 30 parts per million. Now we're at a 0.09. So a lot of calcium movement is just a little bit of movement on our LSI. It doesn't affect it that much. All right, so in total dissolved solids, which is kind of weird, let's say, all right, so we're right there at 1,000. If I go up on total dissolved solids, my LSI actually drops a little bit. For every 100 I move on LSI, I move about 0.01 in the other direction on my LSI. So if my TDS moves 100, my LSI is actually going to move about 0.01 in the opposite direction. So the higher your total dissolved solids, the lower your LSI drops.
Okay.
But all right, I'm going to go up here to pH. pH, this is one of the reasons pH is so critical in our water chemistry. If pH moves 0.1, like right there we're sitting at 0.08, if pH moves a 0.1, man, I went up 0.09 right there. I go up another, I went up 0.1. The pH mirrors. It's the biggest swinger in the LSI. If pH moves 0.1, you pretty much move your LSI, your saturation index, 0.1. So when pH moves, it has the biggest effect on our LSI. So that's one of the reasons pH is so important, because we got a big range of pH. So pH of 7.4 is fine. So let's say we get our LSI perfect at a pH of 7.4. Let's see how we can get there. So here we are at a perfect LSI of 0.00, and my pH is 7.4, which is fine. And I mean, perfect. I move up 0.1, I would go up 0.09. I move up 0.2, and let's say I got a pool that I'm running waterfalls, so my pH goes up a lot. It has a big swing of 0.5 every week. I went from a pH of 7.4 to a pH of 8.0. I went from perfect LSI. The only thing that changed was pH, and now my water is pretty scaling. It went all the way up to 0.57. So just that pH affects your LSI a lot. and pH also affects how active your chlorine is. So pH is the main thing we're controlling. What we typically do is when the water gets warmer, we'll run the lower alkalinities, and so we can, because the water temperature goes up, which makes the LSI higher, so we'll run a lower alkalinity, and that helps us keep our pH down because of that pH ceiling, which is that pH ceiling right here, that little number underneath the 7.6. So we'll run lower alkalinities to make that pH ceiling lower, so the pH does not want to go up so high, and it makes our water easier to manage. But there's certain things we don't add a lot, like our calcium, our stabilizer. Those are going to change on their own. We're just going to monitor those because it's not easy to remove. And then total dissolved solids, we're just going to monitor that. We're not really going to be purposely changing our total dissolved solids, again, because we can't remove it. We're just measuring and we're controlling everything with our pH and alkalinity. And if you need lower pHs, then run lower alkalinities, and that will help you keep that pH in a range that keeps your water balanced. And as water cools down, okay, we can run a little bit higher alkalinity, and our pH can go up a little bit, and we still stay good. And water temperature continues to drop, okay, we can run even a little bit higher alkalinity. I'm not changing my calcium. If I wanted to, like let's say, all right, I want to be happy right here at alkalinity of 71, adjusted alkalinity of 71 and a pH of 7.5, but my water's a little negative. If I wanted to, I could add some calcium to get balanced again. But when the water warms up, what am I going to do now? Because I can't remove that calcium. I can by removing water. So we're going to monitor calcium, monitor CYA, monitor total dissolved solids, and watch the water temperature, and then we adjust pH and alkalinity to get the water balanced while working with those other numbers, about the other factors in the LSI. So pH and alkalinity is the main thing we're going after. We're testing and monitoring everything else, and then we adjust alkalinity and pH to make it work for us. And again, if you're having trouble keeping your LSI down because the water temperature is getting warm, run lower alkalinities, and that will help. But you don't want to go to an adjusted alkalinity below 50. That's as low as you want to go. But you can run a little bit lower pHs. You can run alkalinity, adjusted alkalinity, all the way down to 50 if you need to, but you don't want to go any lower than that. I don't like my pH getting above 7.7 because, one, my chlorine's a little less effective. It's with CYA in the water, it's not that's not as big of a factor as it would be without CYA. But my chlorine does get a little less effective. But what I found out, and I didn't realize this, and I feel like an idiot because I never realized this, the higher your pH, the less effective your CYA is at protecting your chlorine from UV rays. So your CYA becomes less effective the higher your pH for your chlorine. So I don't like running the higher pHs because, one, it's less effective, so it takes a little more chlorine to do what you need it to do, but you're losing your chlorine faster to UV degradation. I like keeping the lower pHs, and if you're taking care of your own pool or you got a pool that you service often, instead of adjusting your pH once a week, if you're having big swings in your pH every week, start testing and dosing pH twice a week. That way you're not getting huge spikes in your pH. Like if your pH keeps going up to 8.1, say you got a salt pool, your pH keeps going all the way up to 8.1 and throwing your water balance off, and then you adjust it all the way down to 7.5, 7.4 to make it right, and then it goes all the way back to 8.1, and you keep having to add a quart or a half gallon of acid once a week. Start testing twice a week, and and dosing your acid twice a week, and don't let that pH make such big swings, which pushes you out of balance, into balance, out of balance, into balance. So just run it closer. But all right, guys, I appreciate. That's all I got. so I appreciate
that was
y'all
interesting.
listening.
That seems like it's very user friendly. And hopefully all of them are, that you can input and then it slides it up and down.
Yeah, and a lot of the other apps do not use. Orenda's really went far with this. A lot of apps aren't giving you your pH ceiling. A lot of apps aren't giving you your adjusted alkalinity. I see there's one major retail store out there that never gives an adjusted alkalinity.
Right.
And that kind of bothers me. A lot of times people are taking their water in somewhere. Like I know, like Pool Works, all of our tests, we got to have water temperature so it can calculate LSI.
Right.
A lot of places, they don't even calculate all that. All they do is, okay, your pH is range, your pH is within range, your alkalinity is within range, your calcium is within range. Hey, your water's perfect. But they don't even look at what the water temperature is and the effect that has on LSI. They're not looking at, a lot of times they're not looking at all at what the CYA, how it affects your alkalinity. So your alkalinity is actually lower, so they're not even calculating that correctly.
Right.
So you want to make sure you get all the factors in there,
all the
and
info.
You want to watch LSI. Range chemistry is okay for mini pools because everything just accidentally happens to be within the range on the other things.
Yeah.
But if you're really going to calculate and protect your pool surfaces and you really want your chlorine to be doing well, you really need to be doing a full calculation for your LSI, including water temperature, including adjusted alkalinity for CYA, and then using this app, this Orenda app. And Orenda's not a sponsor of mine or anything like that.
It's just what we use.
It's because it's very accurate.
Yeah.
It gives me a lot more information than some of the other apps. But you'll start learning your water, and you'll start learning water chemistry much, much better for your pool by using this app, because you'll start seeing how different things affect it. And that gives you a better
We're about
understanding.
to have big storms and rain. That's going to affect over the weekend.
Yes, everybody's alkalinities, all rains here in North Texas, it drops out our alkalinity. So people's alkalinities are going to be real low. Their pH, if their alkalinity gets down to 20, 30, which sometimes that happens, your pH is pretty much uncontrollable. So you need to get that alkalinity up a little bit, and then watch your pHs. Don't let them get too far out of whack, and get that water balanced best you can, as quick as you can, and and again, everything you can do to make it little swings and not big swings, because big swings can take you from aggressive water to scaling water in just one swing. And so you want to monitor that, or you want to keep those swings smaller, so it's less harmful to your pool. Because I see a lot of pools. They'll go from aggressive water to scaling water, aggressive water to scaling water, and they're eating materials out of their pool, and then they're dumping those materials right back on their pool and leaving stains and scaling.
Sure.
So, guys, hey, I appreciate all of you joining us, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. And the video, I can, since I can put all these other things on there and show what we're talking about, I think it's going to be more helpful. But thank you to all our sponsors. We got Blu-ray XL, Chris Gavin, love you, sir.
Yes.
We got Cyclone Filter Tools. We got Poolworks.
Yay!
If there's not a Poolworks near you, become the Poolworks near you, or I'm going to become the Poolworks near you.
He may take over the world. Who knows?
Take over the Poolworks world. But we got Jandy, Fluidra, Polaris Pool Cleaners. Love our Jandy reps. I love their products.
Yes.
Their pumps, their filters, everything about them. I really do enjoy them. But we'll see you guys next week.
Y'all come see us at one of our stores? Come see us. Come say hi.
Well, we after the 1st of May, we'll be moving into the Roanoke store. The Flower Mound store. Yeah. The Roanoke store is already up and running. Flower Mound store, we're just taking that over, and this isn't a hostile takeover or anything like that.
No.
Rick,
they want to retire. They want to step away. Yeah.
Rick's hurt his back.
Yeah.
He's been down in his back a lot. So they're just kind of stepping away. They're going to still help us for quite a while.
Yeah. And we're so thankful for that. Yeah.
And they're good people.
For sure.
They're good
Yeah. We
people.
love Rick and Kim.
We're going to miss them.
Yeah.
But y'all come see us.
Yeah.
Like I said, go see your local Porks if there is a Porks near you. If there's not a local
And
Porks.
tell them Frank and Jackie said
Yes,
hi.
yes,
Yeah.
please do.
Yeah.
Please tell them Frank sent me, because I want them to tell me that next time I see them. So, all right, but y'all take
Awesome.
care.
Y'all
and,
have a great week. Have a happy Easter.
Take care.
And you only want to know what works. But some of the other guys, they can be real jerks. So take a dive in.